What do you want to do? Do you want to hang out or
Just vibing.
just vibe?
Yeah, just vibe.
All right.
He's sending me good vibes.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
If I
We'd
feel
love
like
to hear
one
it.
of you are stupid, I'm gonna be like, no.
Well, you'll have a front row seat to
You
it.
will. You will.
Man, oh man. All right. We rolling?
We're rolling.
All right. Well, today we're able to participate in a very coveted podcast that just really it goes back into our very first podcast, where we talked about some people that we'd like to have on the show, and that we were we were really shooting for the stars in those days, and now we're here. I'd like to welcome for the very first time Tom E. Nicholson to the Obnoxious podcast. We're very happy to have you.
Not as happy as I am to be here, James. This is a treat of mine. I've been listening to these, and I've been here, and they want me, but I never get an invite. But here I am. So
You're elusive. You're
That's true.
yeah,
you hop on the jet and you're gonzo. And
it's bi-coastal.
Yeah.
It comes with the territory.
That's what all you can hope for, though, is just going ocean to ocean. We were talking about the other day when we came over to your lovely beach house. We were talking about just how much we love this area, and this beach in particular. And man, it's a good spot. It's a great spot.
Yeah, I say save Wrexham and Berks Beach for the rich people and tourists. This beach is rocky, and it's right up my lane. Sorry, I was just saying bye to my beautiful wife. It's a special beach, and it always has been. I've been roaming these beaches since I was a little lad. As soon as I was old enough to cross Ocean Street here, I was down here. So I really became a man on these beaches. We found the jetty jump there. We called it the jetty dive. The first year I wouldn't even do it. The second year I was doing it at low tide, and crazy drops. But I remember going down the seawall one year. I think I was probably 13, and I was like, all of a sudden, I noticed all the women on the beach, which I had never had before in my life. And so you just feel like you really became a man and hit puberty, and this beach changed again for me, and it's continually changed. And here we are now, and we're renting a beach house here every year, and just grilling and good vibes.
Awesome.
It's a beautiful house for sure. The whole atmosphere here is just very summery, very we're where you grew up, and same town that I grew up, but it still feels like a vacation, which is awesome. I love that.
There's nothing better in the world than one of your favorite. I grew up here, so it's one of my favorite places. And then, bringing my lady down here and her falling in love with it too, and her wanting to vacation down here. That it's special because it's like, okay, it's special to her now, and she's not a towner, so
Right.
It's a good feeling. But yeah,
I think that the rest of the world is starting to notice, because I'm noticing lots more films being shot here and stuff as the years go by, and it's like, just 2-3 houses away is that big Brant Rock Tower. It's a military tower. It's an
old
spotting ships.
Old war. Or something.
there's a lot of explanations to it. The most is common as a World War II submarine tower, where they're spotting subs. But I actually don't know if that's true. I've read on counter, but it is cool looking, and I've been in it, and it's pretty haunted too. But.
It's haunted by Denzel Washington.
That was awesome. They shot that here, and then my friend Nat Faxon wrote a movie called The Way Way Back. They filmed that over in Berks Beach. So Nat's a friend of mine. Nat was like a commercial actor. He was, I wouldn't say struggling. He was doing well with commercials, but he wanted to get into film and TV. And then he started writing, and him and his friend, they wrote The Descendants, with George Clooney was in it, that Hawaiian movie that ended up winning an Oscar. So he won an Oscar for writing, and he was like, at the time, I think he was in 3 commercials that aired during the Oscars. So to have a commercial actor do that was great. But he wrote this. They came down and directed it. He had a small part in it. But Steve Carell, who lives in Marshfield, he married a Marshfield girl. So, he was able to work from home. And that's a great movie. That really, it grabs a little bit of this area, the essence. Whereas the Equalizer, it was an action. But The Way Way Back really captured the area a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, my mom loves The Way Way Back. My mom and sister both love it. And their only gripe with it was that it depicted that Water Whiz.
You could ride your bike to Water Whiz. Yeah, I know. Hey, if that's the only thing they got wrong, and it was good for the movie because Water Whiz was a fun part of it. That's what Nat was actually the guy at the top of the slide. That was his cameo. In it. So since then, Nat's been on all sorts of shows, and he's blown up, and
That's awesome. That's awesome. I guess I just want to talk to you about acting. Honestly, like when I see the resume that you've put together, and then your connection to me and my home, which is that like you have 4 nephews who I've become pretty close to over the years, and your family's always been very kind to me, and so I'm very I find you interesting because you're an extension of them. You're one of these guys. You're one of these Nicholsons, and you've just created this really cool portfolio.
I like to think it's a path for people to follow what they want to do, their dreams. So like, it's not impossible to go out to Hollywood. It's not impossible to be a kid from Marshfield. I grew up with Stu's Crew. I love Stu's Crew. I was sneaking into Stu's Crew when I was in 8th grade because the 8th grade was in the high school, and I was learning how to edit. I was skipping other classes to learn how to edit and film. It was one of my favorite things, and as I was going through, everyone's trying to figure out, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a nurse, and I said, I want to do this. I had a camera in my car all the time driving around Marshfield, and this is what I want to do. So I knew that was college, what I was going to focus on. And then I didn't think about it for 3.5 years. And then halfway through my senior year, I said, oh, what? I have to think about what's next, Right. And I always wanted to direct movies, and I moved out to Hollywood. I decided it was New York or LA, and I love New York, except I don't. So I didn't want to live there. I love to visit. So I thought it was LA or nothing. And there's a great line in Molly's Game where she says, I wanted to be young in a warm place. And I think because she was she was playing a professional skier in that movie. But I wanted to be young in a warm place. And so I moved, packed up my truck and drove across the country. Never been to LA. The furthest west I was Hershey Park, Pennsylvania. It was the furthest west I'd ever been in my life. Oh, man. So getting to LA was a whole new world driving out there. And I got into working in film, and I started as a production assistant and quickly became a first assistant director. For people that don't know what a first AD is, they manage all the departments on a movie or TV set. So if you're on set, there's makeup, wardrobe, hair, lighting, actors, sound, camera. There's all the departments. Someone needs to coordinate all those people, and the assistant director department does that, and the first assistant director is in charge of that department. It was a lot of action. It was a lot of fun, and I did that for a long time. Never wanted to be an actor. I got to tell you, it didn't even cross my mind to be an actor. It was I didn't have a lot of self-confidence in myself at the time, and I'm a bigger guy. I didn't know we were going to be on camera. I would have lost 100 pounds, quickly. That's a little joke. No, but I didn't have a lot of confidence. Yeah, too big to fail. You like that? That didn't stick, but
I like that one.
It stuck with us.
Yeah. Oh, good. No, I did that I've done over 100 feature films as a first assistant director, first AD. I loved it. It's a younger person's game. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of hours, but it's a lot of fun. And it's a lot of action. But I've filmed I've first AD'd and produced in Malaysia, Belize, Costa Rica. I think I did 15 states in the U.S.
Wow.
Mexico, and I was I gotta tell the story quickly because I don't want to bore everybody. But I was producing a movie in Ohio, and we were shooting it 12 minutes at a time. That was the great thing about this movie. First movie ever made like this. We shot 12 minutes, edited it, put it up on Friday. On the weekend, we had people online that would decide. The audience decided what happened next in the movie. It was incredible. It's called Rotor DR1. Decent. I think it's better as a show than a movie, but it's out there if you like drones. But the director had asked. He said, "Tom, I want you to play this small role." And I said, "How do you know? How do you know it's small? We don't know what's going to happen next." And he said, "It'll be quick." And I said, "No." He said, "Well, then fly someone out from LA, rent him a car, pay for a hotel, give him per diem, and get him to set." And as a producer, I was like, well, I can't afford any of that. Yeah. So I said, fine, I'll do it. And I said, if I suck, it's your fault, not mine. And he said, okay. And this guy, who's a friend of mine, I've known him for 15 years, Chad Capper. He does Rotor DR1. He does Flight Test. And his new show, I'll think of it when I get back to it. But he's great. Chad's amazing. He's always, but he had some confidence. And then at this time, I'm 10 years into my relationship with I guess she's my fiance, but I call her my wife. But with Meredith, and so I had self-confidence because this amazing woman loved me for who I was. So then I loved myself a little more. It's easier. So my confidence as a person gained, and so I went on set and I shot these couple scenes. And it was the funnest part of my day. And I was not nervous at all because I've been standing next to the camera for, at that point, 15, almost 20 years. So just standing in front of the camera, I knew what everyone was doing. Nothing bothered me. And the audience kept writing me back in. So I ended up being like the third or fourth lead in that movie. And I loved it. And then so I went back to L.A. I was still working as an AD, which I still, to this day, I was on Criminal Minds last Christmas before that. And in Hollywood, the more tools you have in the toolbox, it's going to help you be successful. So, anyways, to make a longer story longer, I went into, I got back to LA and I thought it would be fun to go on auditions. Everyone complains auditions. They're annoying. They're tough to do. You're in there for 45 seconds to a minute in front of people that you'll probably never meet again, playing someone that's not you. To me, that sounded awesome. Like I could go in, and I didn't care if I got the audition or not. I just wanted to go in and play somebody else, to be somebody else. I want to remember the kid. You would have a sword in your hand, it would really be a stick, and you could imagine that. We lose that as an adult, and I didn't want to lose that. So I found that in acting again. I could be somebody else. So I'd go in auditions, didn't care if I got it. I swear to you, I did not care. I would go in and I would have a good time for a minute and a half, and I'd walk out and be like, that was fun. Then I started booking things, and I was like, whoa. I was just auditioning for fun, and then I auditioned for Wade in the Water as a feature film. It was the lead, and I said to Meredith, I said, this is the lead in a feature film. By definition, this would make me a movie star because I starred in a movie. I'm not saying I'm a celebrity. I'm just saying this by definition, I would be starring in a full length movie. She said, hey, go back. I got a call back. I went back in the call back. She said, just go have fun. That's why you got into this. And I went and I had fun in the call back, learned all my lines, did it. And I said, if this movie's good and I like it, I will try to do it more. And the movie came out, and I'm just trying to give the Rush version of it. It's a long story, but the movie came out, and then COVID hit. We did a bunch of festivals and won some awards. COVID hit. We went straight to Amazon. Stephen King saw the movie, not only watched the movie, but tweeted about it. The movie blew up on digital. It is available, I think, all on digital streamings now for purchase. And so at that point, pre-COVID, the movie was doing well. Stephen King, everyone liked it. I said, I'll take this serious. I got an agent from my movie. She saw my movie. She was actually my co-star's agent. Danica Gollenbeck, who's amazing in the movie. If you haven't seen Wade in the Water, I think she's better than I am, but. So her agent, I reached out to her agent and she repped me. Next thing you know, I'm on This Is Us. Next thing you know, I'm on set with Jim Carrey. Like, talk about imposter syndrome. I'm walking on set and I'm like, nobody knows I'm not an actor here. But I guess by definition I was being paid to be there. So I had one line on This Is Us, and then I got to be in a cab and a few lines with Jim Carrey on a show Kidding. And then I said, well, I guess I'm an actor now. Yeah. And I still haven't fully accepted it, but it's been a wild ride.
Is Jim Carrey the most intimidating person you've been in the room with, or is there someone else?
Well, yes and no, because I went in thinking I can't be intimidated by this guy because I'm going to be on camera with him. So I got to get that all the way, because if not, I'm going to be a mess. I'm going to be terrible on camera. And so I immediately was just like, he's just another dude. I met him and he was so nice. He's a bit like an over-caffeinated 17-year-old. He has a lot of energy. He's a little scattered, but he was just like, he's like, oh yeah, Tom, nice to meet you. Let's go. We're going to have some fun today. And then it was just like, boom, we're shooting. It all happened very fast when he came in the room. Obviously they don't mess around when he's there. They want to get him out quickly.
I remember that's like the first thing that you told me, because you were telling me like, oh, I'm doing this thing with Jim Carrey. And I was like, how, kind of is he in person? And you're like, honestly, he's kind of exactly how he is in the movie.
Yeah,
he's just very, hyper, but, he seemed like a great dude from what you told me.
Yeah, he was amazing. He was real quick to work with, and we did one day shooting on a green screen on the Sony lot, and cause that was the interior of the cars, and then they wanted a wide shot of the car pulling up in front of the house in the neighborhood. A week later, and they were actually at a neighborhood, so I got to shoot 2 days, even though it was a small scene. They shot inside of the car one day, and then the next day they shot the exteriors. And the second day he comes into the car. I'm all set up for the scene. I'm gonna pull up fast, hard stop in front of the house. He's gonna jump out, and he comes. He goes, "Hi, Jim." He goes, "I'm Jim." And first of all, I know your name. I appreciate that he says, "Hi, my name's Jim." Like everyone on the planet knows your name. And I was like, "Oh yeah, Tom. We met the other day." He goes, "Oh, Tom. All right, good to see you." And then the director came in, and it was I think the two directors. They had a team. They do Bert and Birdie, other names. And Birdie comes in and she says, "Jim, on this one, I want you to take a hard stop." And I said, "Okay." Obviously, my name's not Jim, but I'm not gonna. I'm there for one scene. I'm not gonna.
Might as well be Jim.
And then in the back, Birdie, I'm pretty sure his name is Tom. Because I just told Jim my name, and so it was like he found something that the director was wrong with. It was not going to let that pass. Birdie, and I'll never forget that voice from the backseat. She goes, "Oh, what did I say?" And I said, "Doesn't matter." She said, "Okay, good," and she walked up. But Birdie, I'm pretty sure his name is Tom. That will stick with me forever.
That is hilarious.
That's awesome.
That is so
Yeah,
funny.
so that's a long story to my acting. How I got into acting.
Yeah.
Well, at this point in your career, it's like you've moved moved around so much in this business. Is there anything that you haven't done that you're like, I need to do this before I retire on the beach?
It's a great question. I always wanted to direct movies. That was what I wanted to get into, and I've directed some shorts and some little commercial specs. So, but I don't know if I still want that. I just knew I used to want it, and I do think I'd be good at it. But to tell you the truth, acting is easier than directing.
Right.
It is. I've done almost everything on set, and I really, if you can clear your mind and just play pretend in the moment, acting is the easiest job on set. I truly believe that. And so, I'd like to do, but all right, so I'd like to act. But if I can go more specific to that, I would love to go on a role that didn't say large man. I want a role that just says a 30 to 50-year-old guy, maybe a love interest, maybe something that I'm not casted because of my size. Now, This Is Us did it. They asked me to play a bartender, and actually, I went in to play something else that did say big guy. And then the guy goes, I did the audition. He said, "You're great. I think you're fantastic." He said, "The other guy that we booked, there's two guys next to each other." He said, "The other guy's big, and now they're thinking we're going to go small." He said, "Do you want to read for a bartender?" And I said, "Absolutely." So he just, this is back before COVID. So he just hands me the script. I'm doing live auditions. Now everything's on tape, which I don't like as much. But he hands me the sides. I look, it was another club soda was the line. I said, "All right, I can do that. Here you go." And I have a great friend, Lauren, who's a bartender in Santa Monica, and she do a day bartending. You get annoyed when people there during the day not drinking alcohol, and she just said, "What do you want?" So I just did my best version of my friend Lauren. Another club soda, and I just did it. He goes, "Perfect." And then I got a call and I got casted on that, which was great because the bartender wasn't supposed to be a big guy. So I would like to be a role that isn't supposed to be a big guy. It's just supposed to be a guy. So I don't know. I think a love interest, but I don't want to do a romance either. I'm not looking to smooch women on camera. I'd like to do something out of the role is just a man. Or whatever the role is. It's not a big man.
Okay.
If there was anyone to do it too, I think it would be you. Just because, obviously I've known you my entire life growing up. And one of the things that is really inspirational to me is that, you were me. And you say all the time, "Oh, I was you." And you go to LA and, you want to be a director. You end up doing everything else on set. And then you end up doing the big, show.
The one thing I wouldn't think I would do.
Yeah, exactly. But, you doing that was like, oh, you can really kind of do anything. And it's been for me where I, want to get into sports broadcasting. Started off behind the camera where I would start off editing videos, and now I'm, doing stuff for, my school and, Marshall High School. So, if anyone would be able to kind of pull that off, it's really inspirational how versatile you've been able to be throughout your career doing everything. Also, we're going to pull up your website right now that's showing, TommyNicholson.com. A couple different selfies you got going there and just a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's the portfolio. And Will, and I was saying this to James earlier, is to lay a path out to say, look, our high school, we're blessed in Marshall to have a great telecommunications program. I know the new gentleman, and the name's escaping me.
Brian Chicosis.
Yeah,
Shaq.
they call him Shaq.
Yeah.
And I've talked to Shaq before, and Shaq's doing a great job, and he's continuing it. And it's something we need to be exposed to as something that people can do for a living. There's so many different jobs out there in this industry, and to be exposed to it at an early age, and then gives you a path, and it's fantastic. And look, I didn't start acting until I was in my late 30s, early 40s. And I don't know, maybe I won't act again. Maybe I'll go back to it. I don't know, and it's okay to not know. Just have a direction that you want to head, and be ready for that direction to change. And this is something I want to talk about, is change. Be able to make adjustments in your life to change things. Have a goal. I'm not saying don't have goals. Have a goal and go after that goal. But understand that life's going to take you in different directions, and you need to be ready for that.
Kind of on that note, I wanted to ask you about some of those things, sort of like what Will was just saying, like noticing. Well, it's like what did you love so much growing up, or maybe as an adult man you discovered something. Like, what did you find that you loved so much that made you say, I want to make films and be a part of filmmaking?
It's actually very simple. Storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I love telling stories, whether it's just sitting around telling someone a past story of something that I went through, or just a funny story I heard. Engaging people in an artistic form, telling stories. And 1,000 years ago, we didn't have television and film and TV. We had stories sitting around, and that's how we gave history. That's how we gave lessons, with stories. So storytelling to me, once I picked up a camera, that I knew that was my medium. That was how I could do it. And I'm a very good editor too. So telling stories through editing is there's so many ways to tell a story, and
it's personal.
Yeah,
personal.
Yeah, you put your own flavor to every story, and someone could tell the exact same story almost the exact same way, and it's going to be different. So it's an artistic expression, and to entertain people, it's amazing. I mean,
Yep.
I don't want to oversell Hollywood. We're not curing cancer. We're not changing the world, but we're entertaining people, and sometimes that's important. I think during COVID, people realized when we're stuck at home that being entertained is important, and escaping your life and having new experiences. Maybe you're stuck and you don't know anything about any parts of the world, so you watch movies that take place in other parts of the world. Maybe you understand their culture a little bit. Maybe you grow as a human being. So again, I'm very grounded in acting as entertainment, but I also think entertainment is important.
Yeah. You talk about entertainment too, just because we have this brought up. You're not just an actor for film. You've done stuff for Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura,
Sure.
and that whole video, which I'll pull up here in a second. But that's another thing where it's like just about entertainment, and it was like look at this guy going out and doing this stuff.
You gotta
Honestly,
be more.
play it. You should play it while we talk about it.
Yeah,
Because that was really something.
So I was a little, when I got the call about it, I was a little, I wasn't sure I was ready to, like I said, I want to play something that's not the big guy. This was not the big guy. This was, you got to lean into the big guy.
Yeah.
Right? He's making fun of Bert because Bert's got a belly and he wants him to be a giant dude.
Right.
And I said, if I'm gonna be in this industry, I need to be able to make in front of myself, or at least lean into my size too. I don't want my whole career to be about my size, but I also know that might help me get something. And I'm so glad I did it. I owned it. I remember telling Tom, I was like, do you want me to fall off the chair afterwards? And we came up with this whole thing, and we were in a hurry. And Tom was amazing. He came here so respectful. He treated me like I was an A-list actor when I got there. He was very, very nice. And here I am, a little starstruck meeting him. I mean, he's guy's hilarious. And Two Bears, One Cave is hilarious. Now we're making this joke that I knew was going to be viral. I was like, when I read this guy, I was like, okay, I'm going to play Bert. This is going to be fantastic. They tricked Bert into 3D imaging his face, and they put it on me. And the deep fake, which at the time deepfakes were just becoming a word that we knew. And I went to set and I did it, and then the video came out. It was fantastic. I remember going to my high school reunion a couple months later, and people were talking about that video, and they didn't know it was me.
that's what happened
They
to me.
didn't know it was me.
I pulled it up
Yeah.
because I follow Tom Segura pretty closely, and I saw that, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, and I watched it all the way through, and I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty funny, and then later, Will just told me, he's like, oh, you won't believe this, and I started thinking, I was like, no shit, I was like,
Yeah.
that was Uncle Tom.
Yeah, I didn't realize the reach. I knew Tom Segura, but I didn't realize people from back home knew him. People follow him. And Bert is. I've never met Bert, and one of these days I'm going to show up to his show and see if he recognizes me. But no, Tom's been great, and me and Tom have stayed in contact. And I'm going to be starting a podcast soon, so I reached out for advice from him. And he's been really, really gracious to me. And I mean, he brings me up on the podcast. That's all. I mean, I did one video for him, and I've gotten more airplay on his podcast, which is great. It's cranked the Instagram followers, so I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. That's
No, I love
awesome.
that.
We were big. Well, I was, at least in creating, this show, I was definitely big time inspired by, Segura and Rogan and
Bears, One
Kreischer and
Cave.
that.
Your
crew.
Mom's House, Two Bears, One Cave, Rogan. Like they really developed it into. I mean, obviously they've all Rogan cashed out on a big payday, and Tom and Bert are doing great. Bert came out with the machine. He parlayed into a movie.
Yeah.
I reached out to Tom. I said, Tom, you got to get me in Bert's movie. I mean, come on. I never heard back, but it's fine. He, when it matters, he replies. And Bert's, the machine I think just came out on digital too. So if you have checked that out, we need to support comedy films because I think we all know X-Men and all these comic movies, but we don't have a lot of big budget comedies out there. And in my day, it was Old School or Dumb and Dumber, and these weren't even huge budgets. They were decent budget comedies. We just don't have them now. No one wants to spend the money on them. So when a comedy comes out, we really need to hit the movie theaters and show it. So people came out for The Machine. De Niro had that comedy, and the name is escaping me. That just
Dirty
came out.
Grandpa or something.
No, just came out.
Different one?
It came out during The
Recently,
Machine. A comedy, but Dirty Grandpa was hilarious.
Dirty Grandpa
But
was
yeah, we need to show up for these movies, just like and because if we want good ones made, they got to pay the comedian, they got to pay the funniest people. So, but yeah, if you haven't seen The Machine, you should watch it on digital. It's very great. And then Tom just came out with Tom Segura came out with Sledgehammer on Netflix.
I need
But
to
at
give
the
that
time
one
of
a watch.
recording,
Number
I
one,
think
right?
it's number 1 on Netflix. So,
Pretty
yeah.
good.
But anyways, Tom was great, and that was great visibility for me to be on that. Even though they changed my face, but I always made sure I put up the Instagram pictures of me in the real shirt. So, try to put my flag on that hill.
So I mean, we keep talking about your the diversity in your skill set, but if storytelling is what drew you to it, have you ever given stand-up comedy a thought or?
Yeah, I always, and jokingly, I have. I never took it serious, but
That's the way they like it.
Yeah,
That's the way they
jokingly.
like it.
See, that's good. I didn't even. No, I never took it serious, but I don't know. I think maybe. The problem is all I think of is other things that other comics said that I want to repeat, and
Right.
that's pretty. I mean, they all do it, but it's not supposed to. But I just think of funny. I just like put my spin on it. Like there was a female comic that talked about sitting down to pee. Yeah, I shouldn't talk about that. Hey, I'll do the quick one. She says she doesn't understand guys when they go in and stand up and pee. She says girls they go sit down and pee and sometimes they end up pooping, and guys don't know about that because they just go in and pee and leave because they're standing up. And so if you sit down and pee more often, guys, you might find yourself with an unexpected poop situation. But I just thought that was funny because now I talk about bidets and sitting down and peeing. So I have I've started to curate something, but it was based on something that I can't remember her name. She's a fantastic comedian. And something she said, and I've curated into like my own version. So I'm a little hesitant to start writing something. Right now, actually, my new thing is I just finished my first feature screenplay. So feature
Fantastic.
script. It's something that started when I was 16 years old. My brother came back from college and said, I need a short film for a class because he was going to figure out how to market it. So we grabbed a camera. Like I said, I had one in my trunk every day. And we went and shot a movie, and I edited it. So I've always had this story in my head, and I've just expanded it into a feature. And I got it on, and we are currently a quarterfinalist in the Golden Script Screenplay, and then I'm waiting to hear back. I've entered into Slam Dance and a couple other festivals, so not bad for first time screenwriter. I've gotten my first competition. I've gotten into the quarterfinals. So very happy about that. So screenwriting may be. The thing is, I wrote it. There's not even a role for me in there. I didn't even think about it. I just wrote it. I didn't even think of my own acting. I just wrote it. So I think the next one is going to be one that maybe I could star in.
I like
Interesting.
that. It's called One Man Standing?
One Man Standing, yeah. Not much to see right now out there. I've kept it under wraps until I can sell the script and maybe we get it made. But yeah, One Man Standing.
Yeah, I've read a little bit of it. It seems like good stuff. Very well done.
Yeah, I like to pitch it as the town meets Backdraft. Backdraft is one of my favorite movies. A lot of younger guys haven't seen it, but if you do catch that, it's really good. And then the town, most people saw that.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah, I see. I kind of see the same sort of thing for myself. I've noticed as I've been going to school and learning more and working with actors and working with other young professionals. It's like, or I should say, other real young professionals. Do you know what I mean? Like people who you're like you see them, you work with them, and you're like, you need to take something from this person, and I've started to feel like for a little while that eventually in my journey of being a writer or trying to find my artistic voice, that just to learn from it, I am going to need to do stand-up comedy at some point. You know what I mean? Like I feel it, and but again, as much as as passionate as I am about my art and all these things, I'm still reserved to a degree. You got to
put yourself out there.
Yeah.
As we learned in beer pong, you miss 100% of the shots you don't get in the cup. Yeah. So no, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and even if you don't become the most wildly successful stand-up comedian, you're going to learn something from that. And also, no one is the most successful comedian right when they start. It's the grind. It's from what I know. It's the grind from stand-up that you do. You work on your set. You work on your, what you bring to the table. What makes you special versus someone else saying the same joke. Why is it special? So I go out there. Everyone should do something that makes themselves uncomfortable. Yeah. When I started acting, I was very uncomfortable. I wasn't. I didn't jump right in and start. You warm up to it, but you don't know you're capable of doing something until you do it. And if anything of my career, I think it's that, right? I mean, I came out not really just wanting to direct it. I've done everything else and things I didn't want to do, and I'm so glad I did. It's got me there, and I still don't know what I want to do. I got a DGA card in my pocket. I have a SAG-AFTRA card in my pocket. I hope to get a WGA card, like, the Writers Guild, Directors Guild, and the Actors Guild. So even at 40 something, I don't know what I want to do. I know what I like.
Right.
And right. I want people to know you're in a small town like Marshfield, and we have a great communications program. Then you want to be an actor, you want to be a producer, you want to direct, or you think you might. Go to school for it, learn it, go or don't. Go show up, go work as a PA for free. Find out what you like and then attack it. But always be ready for change, right? This is the change. And I think sometimes we get stuck, and especially in this area of the country, change is very hard for people, especially growing up in this town. People don't like change. People don't like changing broadcasters. Remember when Don Orso left and everyone, the Red Sox, and it was a big deal. People don't like change, but change is so important, and it's coming whether we like it or not. Yeah. So right. You might as well lean into it.
Yeah. You talk about all the time, and I know you wanted to get into this a little bit, how, being different and kind of like being this big guy has like led to you getting scripts, but it also, you want to branch out from that and kind of, just you want a different, and you've mentioned to me a different, or a couple different times, you want a different breed of people to be kind of shown and, just media pop.
Yeah, and it's happened in shows, but where it hasn't happened? When's the last time you saw like a large person in a car commercial?
Yeah.
Right? Like, where have you seen a big dude? And I'm not talking about tall and skinny. I'm talking a hefty dude driving a truck. When have you seen someone, and you don't even get representation in big and tall catalogs. I've been trying to work with, companies not to be named here. As they reach out to me eventually, we can fix this. Their catalogs, the clothes that I buy out of the catalogs, the websites, they show guys that are 2 or 3X. They sell up to 7XL. Why are we only showing the lowest of the XL? The guys that could probably shop at the higher size of your local stores, but are at the lower end of the big and tall stores. So I think representation in everything, not just big guys. I mean everything.
Yeah.
I mean
Yeah.
we're going through the minorities of that, and brown and black people trying to be more represented, and LGBTQ plus trying to be more represented. There needs to be more representation. We need to be seen in shows that came around, movies that came around. This Is Us was great. They were good about bringing in people of size for things, and things that mattered and things that didn't matter if they were big. And you're starting to see more of that, but I'd like to see it more in advertising.
Yeah.
And we're just not seeing it, and that would be nice. So it'd be nice to see more representation, and at least in the big and tall catalog. Can I see a guy wearing a size shirt that's within 3 sizes of mine?
Yeah.
You know, it's like if we can't be represented in our own clothing magazine, we're never going to be represented in the mainstream.
Exactly.
And so I just fight for everyone, and not just big people, but people of all minorities or all outskirts of the quote-unquote norm to be represented there. And it's starting to happen. It's slow, and you're going to see a pendulum. A pendulum swings too far one way, it'll swing too far the other, but I'd rather be on that end of it. But yeah, so that's what I would like to see for sure, is more representation in that. And I never felt comfortable being in movies because I was a big guy until I stopped caring what other people think.
Yeah.
And once I did that, then I was free.
Yeah.
What do you think about what do you think about a movie like The Whale with Brendan Fraser? You know, where it's like it's about something, you know, it's about one story, but it's kind of one of those things where, well, why did Brendan Fraser have to put on a bodysuit? Why wouldn't you hire an actor? Or is the story just something that maybe you wouldn't put that on an actor or a plus size actor?
It's complicated. This is complicated, and I know where I stand in my heart, but I don't know where I stand publicly. So first of all, I auditioned. I was in the 3rd round of auditions for that movie.
Really?
So that was close to me, and I was interested to see who got it. I think I'm not going to go as far as say it's like a modern day putting on blackface or something like that, but you are changing yourself into something you're not when there are people that are actors that are already like that. Does that make sense? So having straight actors, you know, play gay characters. There are enough amazing gay actors out there that should be playing gay, and they should be able to play straight too, but it's a complicated situation. I think Brendan Fraser did an amazing job. I think the movie was amazing. I was jealous. I was in it. And, you know, Brendan was a name, but if like they brought Brad Pitt in, I might understand. Okay, because now you're going box office. Brendan certainly brings a generational box office, but not an overall box office necessarily. And I think he did. He brought some people to it. But I was a little disappointed that they had to put him in a fat suit. I think if he was in it for one scene in a flashback where he plays a skinny person as Louis, that makes sense. But if you have to put that fat suit on for the every shot, every frame of the movie, I'm not psyched about it. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. That could be a role that went to a very talented. I'm not even saying me, but a very talented large actor who doesn't get. He can't play James Bond, right? I can't go play. You know, I can't be, Mission Impossible. I'm not gonna do those things. It just doesn't make sense. So when a role comes that's for a big person,
okay,
it would be nice. Yeah. That's all. But movie making, it's complicated, and so. But yes, I would have enjoyed if it was an actual large person playing that. And I understand the need for prosthetics if you have someone, playing 2 different roles or playing, they lost weight or they gained weight and they play one. But if every frame of the movie you're in a suit, I don't know. I think it could have went to somebody and they would have done a great job.
This is a unique thing. This is what another thing I want to talk to you about. Because kind of going off of that, I took a film class and we talked a little bit about movies having like eye candy. Just kind of like, it used to be a lot of like women, like a lot of beautiful women would be put in the movies just to be kind of like this eye candy. And, there's worries that they're going to put, different LGBTQ people in a role, but in a role just to kind of be, like, the token, like, gay person. Be like, oh, we're progressive. Do you see maybe if... Well, first of all, where would you stand with that? And would that be something that evolves? Like, oh, put a big person in there just because?
Well, I mean, it's good. Look, we all want to be working. So
Yes.
I just want to work. So
obviously,
while we're there,
helps.
why we're there, it would be nice to be working if you're going to be big. But it's not a complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very complicated question that I don't have a complicated answer for.
Yeah.
I think it's dangerous to do that, but also inclusion is important.
100%.
So if that's what's going to get them there, fine.
Yes.
But I think writers need to expand their minds, and I think you're seeing it, where being gay doesn't define the character. It's just
That's exactly
it's a
what I'm
trait
talking
of the
about,
character. So if you're only having someone there that is gay, and that's the only reason why they're there in the scene. I mean, I guess it's better than not having them there.
Yeah.
But I think we need to. It's a start.
Yes.
I think the end is, can this, what makes sense to this character? And if the character is gay, does that define their role in the movie? Can they just be gay in the movie? Like, does it matter? So if it's written for, like, specifically, can it just be written for a person? And then you can decide the gender. I read a thing that Michael B. Jordan, early in his career, he'd only apply to things for, like, women. He was only applying to women roles. He would send his audition in for roles for women. Because I don't remember exactly the explanation, but the point was
name, like they would.
Well, no, but Michael
B. Jordan. I think.
Yeah, no.
Why did I think?
No, it's fine.
I think it's a different story.
Michael B. Jordan, the actor, he would submit auditions for women, and I like that because he just didn't want the role to be because he was a black man. He wanted the role to be because it was a good role, and so if it's so good, will the casting director or the director or the producer say, "Well, I never thought of that. Maybe it could be a trans person. Maybe it could be." Or maybe not. I mean, so yes, I think it's important to what you might call force a little bit of inclusion in there.
Yes.
Because it's better than not having it. But the higher level is it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And, if it helps the script in one way or another, great.
Yeah.
But just for the sake of having diversity, it's better than not having diversity.
It's better to have it. Me personally, I like it better when, to me, it's done in, like, what I would call, like, the right way, where it's not just like,
organic.
where it's like, like, look at this, and, like, you kind of, like, build over time, like, okay, like, they just work that in without, like, kind of forcing it, because then it feels like they're getting pressure to kind of do that.
And the good
writers
are doing that.
That's bad writing. That's bad writing.
It is
bad
writing.
That.
It is to force it. And it's probably not the writers. It's probably somebody else forcing that in.
Right.
But like I said, I'd rather it be forced than not exist.
Yeah.
So
that's the
my
next
answer.
step, I think.
The next step is it not to be forced.
Yeah.
It's just like admissions in the college, which the Supreme Court just ruled on. They didn't rule that people couldn't. What do they call that? Legacies.
Yeah.
So it's okay that if your parents went to school, you get a leg up, but it's not okay if you're a minority to get a leg up.
Yeah.
So it's like everyone climbing a wall, but if you're a legacy, here's a ladder. But for minorities, they just pulled the ladder out and said, no, you can do it yourself. And I don't agree with that. So, but that that's the same thing. It's that there's so many thousands of years of us doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So how we get to doing it right might not be beautiful, might be slippery and dirty, but let's just at least head in that direction.
I like that. Are we talking about the cartoon at all? We throwing that in there?
I don't have anything to show, but I mean,
Sure.
briefly, if, we're just we're working on this. We're working on something that's more of it's a larger project, something that I hope to do professionally when I graduate. But we have I've been working on a concept piece that I'll be releasing shortly.
That's awesome.
So we'll definitely link you in on that, and I'd love when you do get a chance to see it. I'd love to hear what you think about it.
Sure.
I think you'll like it.
I think you'll like it. It's very short, like right now, but it's a work in progress. But like everything that he's shown me because it's really James's thing. He's just like, oh, I want you to find your way into this. And
well, you need to bounce stuff off people and then bring them in slowly. Get the feel for it.
Yeah.
And as Will becomes more and more involved in his career with his voice, the more I'm like, keep working on that, and why not have you be doing voice work,
Yeah. I mean, not all of us are born with a booming, silky voice like you, James. we can get there with character and personality. Right, we'll get there. No, that's great. But yeah, I'm very proud of Will. His announcing has been awesome, and I always tell him like it is too, and I try not to blow sunshine up his ass because it's not helpful unless the person's down. They need to be brought up. But with Will, I want to be a sounding board for him, and I'm psyched hearing his calls. I think they're really, really good. His voice is very catchy, and it might not be traditional, but I'm not a traditional actor, and I'm not a traditional sized AD for that matter, a production manager, a producer. It's a new world, and everyone, and I love to see Will's career blossom, and him gain confidence in his voice.
Absolutely.
It's really inspiring to me, even at my level, to know that he's out there doing it.
We just have to have his microphones tuned in. Exactly. You need to find your settings that you love, live, and breathe.
Yeah,
and they need to tailor it for you wherever you go to work and you're announcing, because you do have the boom, like when you put it on, you just can't be like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I got you. One of the things that I need to figure out is I did the Cranberry Bowl, which is Bridgewater State University versus Mass Maritime. And I wasn't doing play-by-play. I was just doing color, which is like you're kind of the analyst almost. And the mic that they had was phenomenal. I listened to it back, and I've been working to okay, I need to get that microphone.
That's the bar.
And then like not only because usually MCM, who I work for right now, love doing that job, and they have an okay mic, but I asked them can I come with my own mic and just plug in the XLR just so it's catered to my voice. So.
It's gangster. That's how you have to roll in.
And that's what Segura said. Tom Segura said two things when I asked him about my podcast. He said, have great audio, have a mic that you're comfortable with and you feel comfortable, and two, keep it short.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or
on that topic,
digestible.
I have one last thing that I wanted to ask you about, and basically it's just you've been a supporter of the stuff that we come together to make, and so I just want to ask you your overall opinion and just your experience seeing what we've collaborated on in the past few years.
Oh, I mean it's obviously it's incredible. You guys have a unique opportunity where if this setup here, we're sitting here live from Brant Rock, or recording from Brant Rock here on the beach. I couldn't do this when I was younger, and so you guys have the access to do things anywhere, high quality, do it yourselves. You don't need necessarily a lot of funding. You don't need a lot of raise a lot of capital to do stuff, and to see what you guys have done with very little funding or capital and the quality of product you guys come out. I'd love to see the Obnoxious, and I'd love to see Will go through different podcasts and do different things, and I followed Obnoxious for a long time. I really enjoy it, probably since the beginning. Yeah. And I'll fall back for a month or two, but then I go back and I try to catch up, and you guys do it. If you want to do something, do it. Don't sit around talking about it, right? It's another thing to say, oh, I want to do figure it out. Go on YouTube and figure out how to make a podcast. You guys have the information at your fingertips that we didn't have. You can do anything now with technology, and you can learn it, and you can do it. So if there's something that you think is cool, you think podcast is cool, I've been so proud of you guys for just doing it, just coming out and doing it and making content and getting better. And the other thing is, your content I thought was great, but it's just gotten better. Yeah. It was like a couple kids having drinks in a basement, running around, throwing each other around, and which is great. That's
what it was.
And it still goes back to that. That's that's great. But you've came full circle, and you guys are doing great. And I'm very proud. And I love supporting Will, and I love supporting you guys. And you've always been supportive of me. You always like my Instagram and stuff and all that, and talk about my stuff. So I'm glad to. I was psyched when Will told me. I said, finally, I was starting to
Yeah.
get a complex on it. I was
Yeah.
like, maybe they don't want me. It's like
I do love the evolution of how this podcast went from like us like in the basement talking about like if we could like collectively kill a bear. It's like
And then it's like,
here.
yo, Jimmy, put the bong away.
Yeah,
someone breaks something in the
Yeah,
background.
exactly.
There's like 30 kids on the off camera.
And now
I
we've
love
got
that too,
the Tommy Nicholson here
all
for
right,
a
all right.
podcast.
So everybody-
Yeah.
And no, I'm glad to be here. And one thing about actors is they love talking about themselves.
Yeah.
So don't threaten me with a good time. Especially sitting at the beach house here.
Oh
I
yeah.
know.
Can't get
Beautiful
better than this,
sunset.
man.
It's not work. It doesn't feel like it. So if you can get paid to do things, which is the next step? Let's
Yeah.
start
Working
today.
on it.
Next up.
And,
I'm close.
and this episode is brought to you by My South Shore Car Service. Local,
he
reliable.
actually didn't want me to say that.
Oh, yeah.
My dad,
Hey,
he
it's
was
here.
like South Shore Car Service.
He did or
Yeah,
didn't?
he did. Yeah. he
Oh,
did.
yeah. So
Which James works with my dad right
Yeah.
now too. So
Anytime he lets
part-time
me,
employee,
man.
South
Yeah.
Shore Car Service. You can email us at mysouthshorecarservice@gmail.com to all the South Shore needs, to the airport, local transportation.
and he said he would pay me. So that's
Yes,
even
sir.
better.
$75 from Marshfield to Logan.
Free rent,
Yeah.
free food, and
Yes.
everything
Yeah,
else.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'm happy with just that. But seriously, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a long time coming, but I appreciate you taking the time.
Absolute
to
pleasure.
do this with us.
Absolute pleasure. You guys are stand-up guys. You're doing great work. I'm very proud of you, and I'll continue to follow you. And
Thank you.
hope you have me on the show when you got big sponsors here. And
Absolutely.
brought to you by. We'll sit here for half an hour and do all that.
Do ad
Right,
reads.
exactly.
That's the goal.
Brought to you by the new iPhone 35. You
This
just
one's
insert
the
it
size
into
of
your
your house.
eyeball. Yeah, you insert it into your eyeball now. Yeah.
I love that.
Man, this was really awesome.
We're gonna have
I
to do it
really
again
appreciate
because
it.
I
We will.
keep
Oh, yeah.
going.
We'll do it.
I got stories. We do a film set story one, or just like someday of all the crazy shenanigans that happens on movie sets and TV sets.
Absolutely.
But
I've
we'll
heard
go
a few
deep.
that we need on
well,
here one day.
like Tom Segura said, keep it tight.
Keep
Absolutely.
it tight.
Tom, thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure.
Great talking to you.
Absolute pleasure.
Dub, send it.
Hey, make sure you follow us on everything. We're gonna keep trying to do podcasts when they feel like they're needed. We don't do the once a week anymore, but special occasions like this,
When
they gotta
called
happen.
upon.
Exactly. So yeah, Obnoxious Podcasts on Instagram, all that.
Cool,
Yeah.
man.
Peace.
Peace out.